Okay, so this is the fifth mock exam of normal psychology. So please get your copies. Ayusin natin yung answer keys dun sa TOP. So, sinecheck ko yung mga items kanina na may conflicts. Pero parang isa o dalawa lang yung may concern. Yung iba talaga parang yung sagot natin kanina yung mas okay. Check ko mabuti. No? Anyhow, with the other exams, so kapag nagkaroon na ng analysis, na-scan na namin kasi ini-scan ko pa yung mga exams, lalo may mga pahabol pa ngayon. So, after I scan those and check, maglalabas ako ng graph, just like what I did with the previous years. So, naglalabas ako ng graph from mock 1, 2, 3, tapos ngayon 4 and 5. Let's see how the class or the whole group in general will perform. So dapat ang trend pataas. No? At least that's the optimistic one, pataas. Huwag na natin tignan kung na-meet na yung cut-offs. Kasi may iba hindi. Pero generally speaking, dapat pataas siya. Okay? I do assume, with the previous trends, yung 3 subjects, pataas sila and they meet certain cut-offs already. Pero yung assessment talaga, never in our whole lives that we saw that the whole batch really got up to the cut-off. I'm just talking with the smart students. And, well, if you would ask me, is it pessimistic outcome? Is it optimistic? We don't know. We just administer exams and we do assume that some of the items are really hard. So, hindi talaga basta-basta papasa yung students. But the idea is the mock exam is also a practice exam. So, the idea is mahirap siya ngayon, pero dahil tinake nyo na, dapat mas marami ng luminaw. Para pagdating ng board exam, whatever of those 400 items per each of the subject or sa 150, 600 items na na-take nyo na, plus may quizzes pa, plus probably you have your own practice materials na hindi katulad sa Spark, then probably there will be a hit with some of the items in the board exam and the things that you practice already. Kaya nga ginagawa natin ito. So don't be, if I release that PDF report and you see that the whole batch is not progressing very well or not meeting some cutoff, don't be demoralized. It's really live. Kasi last year ganun din eh. Nalulungkot sila kasi yung psych assessment hindi umabot sa cutoff. Sabi ko, wala tayong magagawa. Ganun talaga. We're talking about the average. Pero if we look into each of the students, there are already a handful of students that are going beyond the cutoff. And I'm not sure kung it's a valid metrics. Pero if we want to quantify, for example, ilang students yung nakakalagpas ng cut-off sa Mach 1? Ilang students yung nakakalagpas ng cut-off sa Mach 2, 3, 4? Di ba dapat ang assumption, mas dumadami? Ibig sabihin, mas dumadami yung pumapasa. Hindi lahat mag-average tumataas yung scores. But yung mga estudyante pumapasa, dapat mas dumadami. So the trend is actually ganun, no? In the past. We will have to see with your scores. Okay? So, malapit ng board exam, just hold on tight. Things are really, there's this general assumption, even in the past, that during this period, students are really stressed. Of course, the board exam is near. Pero pag inisip nyo, saan nanggagaling yung stress? It's not actually dun sa dahil nagre-review sila or something. Mas madami kayong inaaral in the past than now. I do believe. I do believe. If you are still the student who are still studying a lot of things now, there's something. Nakuha niyo yung point? Dapat ngayon, you're just polishing things up. Diba? Kasi the bulk of the things that you're studying, nangyari na yan nung June, or probably even bago pa tayo nag-start, no? April, May, June, July. Sa dami na nang inaaral nyo, pagdating ngayon, ini-strategize na lang yung mga inaaral nyo. You're just referring to the mock exam. Ay, mali ako sa number 3, 7, 25. Yun na lang yung binabalikan nyo sa libro. So basically, yung mga dami ng binabasa, kumukonti. No? Pero yung dami ng nervous talaga, dumadami pa rin. So we can't do anything about it. It's a normal reaction. So sabi nga nila, what's the relationship of anxiety levels to performance? Dapat ba hindi ka walang anxiety para maganda ang performance? Actually hindi, di ba? You should have at least a mild anxiety on your sleeves kasi it gives you a better way to focus and attend to details. No? Pero pag moderate pag moderate to severe anxiety ka na, medyo something na yun. No? That is something that you need to check on yourself. Okay? Well, let's start with number 1. Ito ay coming from mock. Ganun din yung ginawa kong consistent yung arrangement ng exam para at least madali nyo rin mahanap. Katulad ganina sa TOP na at least nahanap natin yung mga previous questions. So parang mock 2, from 1 to 25 is mock 2, tapos 26 to 50 is mock 4, tapos mock 1, tapos 3. So 2, 4, 1, 3, parang gano'n. Okay? So sinandwich ko yung mga dati, tsaka yung bago. Okay? So question number 1, which of the following statement about gender differences in schizophrenia is true? Totoo. So dapat ang sagot nyo ay letter boy. Alam nyo na kung ang dahilan dito. And hindi lang dahil dito sa question na ito, pero dahil sa naaral na natin to, you should have also looked into the other gender differences when it comes to psych disorders. We will have a review of that, or at least a final take on that on the grad lecture. Pero on your own reviews or your own study sessions, you should have checked on the other things. When it comes to epidemiology. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang importante with the signs and symptoms, alam nyo mag-diagnose, but you know certain expectation on certain groups of people. More than anyone in the healthcare setting, dapat yung mga psychometricians and psychologists yung mas nakakaalam ng mga trends. Bakit? Kasi kayo yung sa assessment eh. So, the moment that the client comes in, that is a male doing drugs, etc., having this delusion. So dapat alam niyo na yung possible progress that will happen. Possible prognosis that will happen so that you can have a good recommendation with your reports. Kasi kayo yung gumagawa nun eh. So talaga dapat alam niyo yung mga expected progress for each of the disorder, even epidemiology data. So you know the reasons with number 1, no? So you know that the letter A is they're just the same symptoms whether male or female. But the intensity, that there are some studies that will tell that with men it will be more positive in nature of women. There are some few studies there. But since letter A is not telling that, so hindi siya sagot. It's still letter B. How about in number 2? Which of the following symptoms incompatible with conversion disorder? No? Ito yung mahaba na functional neurological symptom disorder. So, dapat ang sagot nyo ay letter A. You know that lightheadedness may not be psychological in nature. Okay? Bakit tama yung B, C, and D? So, stonic movements, they're having problems coordinating their movements. Tunnel vision is more about the sensation. And then touch and temperature, of course, it's still about sensation. So you know that functional neurological symptom disorder will have some impairments, some weird impairments on sensation and even some coordination with muscles or how you move a certain body part. So kaya siya involved with the conversion disorder. Okay? How about in number 3? A patient with history of bipolar disorder reports experiencing 1 week of elevated expansive mood evidence. Hypomanic rather than manic. Alam niyo na pinagkaiba nila. You will be led to answer letter C. And you know that the difference between hypomanic and manic states, one big difference is more about what? Whether there is dysfunction or the person is still at least relatively functional. Okay? So, pag dysfunctional na, you're talking about manic episode already. Kasi if you look into the DSM-5 criteria, the criteria about hypomanic and manic are parang parehas sa parehas, no? They're almost similar except for the number of symptoms and the presence of dysfunction or wala. So, yun lang pinagkaiba nila. So, syempre, the more the manic symptoms, the more that it will lean towards the manic phase, plus the dysfunction. So, ganun lang siya, kadali i-distinguish. Number na tayo? 98. Number 4. Tama na 4? 4. In addition to feeling keyed up or restless, individuals with generalized anxiety are most likely to experience which of the following? Number 4, letter C, muscle tension. Actually, most of the clients with anxiety disorder may have this symptom. No? Mga, ano siya eh, hindi siya diagnostic, but because anxiety is the core concern, so yan yung mga common na concern. May muscle tension, feelings of diarrhea, tsaka yung more general feeling nga na ganito. They feel keyed up. Parang, alam niyo, parang lagi kayo on the edge na there might be something that happens, so lagi kayo alert. Parang gano'n. No? You will feel this way kapag board exam na. Restless. Pero that's relatively still common. Pero kapag meron ng biglang nagsasalita mag-isa dyan sa tabi, so huhugutin na namin yun sa board exam. Wala pa naman kami na encounter na gano'n. Yun na trigger. Triggered siya. Triggered kami sa board exam. Pero meron yung umiiyak. May umiiyak talaga after ng board. So okay yung chill lang. Sayang yung luha eh. Pero okay lang, minsan talaga, that's the way they get. Yun nga, meron pa kang post dati, sinisisi na hindi siya naging top notcher dahil yata nalaway yung Christian, ano nga ba yung na yun? Nakakalokang anecdote. Tubig. Bakit nataksi ka ng tubig? Umiinom. Parang pasado yun, di ba? Narinig kang basa ko lang doon sa Facebook, pasado naman siya, pero namong problema siya na hindi siya naging top notcher. Parang gano'n. Grabe, tayo problema natin kung papasa tayo. Yung iba, top notcher problems. Pero, tapos meron pa nga akong nakitang post, kino-compute niya, sabi niya, sayang parang 6 points yata sa TOP, dapat top notcher ko daw siya. Wow, na-compute pa nilang ilang points sila. Pwede naman kung sa pwede. Pero, parang sa atin, sa mga katulad natin, basta okay na yun. Basta makabasa, panalo na yun. Okay na. Pero of course, walang problema kung mangarap maging top notcher, di ba? Kasi ang goal naman ng lahat sa inyo, kailangan the highest score that you can get. Di ba? Ngayon, kung pumasa ka because of your best effort, good yun. Kung maging top-notcher ka because of your best effort, then the better, di ba? Pero may ibang students kasi they stress themselves to really go on the top. Hindi ko masyadong nire-recommend yun kasi it might retaliate on the student. Instead na mas maging, imbes na mag-perform siya, lalo lang mag-degrade yung performance. Kasi ang iniisip niya ay kailangan kong mataas na mataas yung score. So, hindi na nabigyan ng focus yung dapat nabigyan ng focus sa exam, which is actually to get as many questions, best questions answered that you have in the board exam. So tama yan, okay lang nire-nervous kayo ngayon, pero more than that, you need to manage yourselves. Okay? Number 7. 7 na ba? 5 pa lang? Oh. Which of the following disorders generally not comorbid with ASD? So, dapat nasagot nyo sa 5C. Alam niyo na to. Not comorbid. Bakit hindi siya comorbid? You know, ang explanation dito, diba nabanggit ko na? Selective mutism is what? Relatively a sign of what? Talk disturbance. Now, clients with ASD, they have a different, all different concerns. Okay? If you see a client with autism or some of the other things like the Asperger's, okay language development. For example, Rett syndrome or ASD or papalagay na natin moderate intellectual disability. If you see them not talking too much, what do you write in the psychological report? So, hindi lahat ng hindi nagsasalita, mutism or selective mutism. No? So, you can write it as plainly as raw as the client has decreased speech, or the client very seldom talks to another person, etc. Pero hindi siya selective mutism. No? Because mutism or selective mutism will have a more psychological explanation, especially about thought disturbance. So, hindi siya comorbid with ASD. Unlike with ADHD, Rett, intellectual disability, even, of course, stereotyping movement, that's one criteria with autism. So, that's why letter C ang sagot sa 5. Okay. So, number 6. The Falstein Mini Mental Status Exam, or the MMSE, is most commonly administered with number 6 letter B. And you know that the use of the MMSE, right? And even the MOCA test, diba? Alam niyo ang gamit nun, that's for cognitive impairment. You need to measure cognitive impairment. So most commonly, it should be with the adults. Okay, malinaw na yan. Number 7, which of the following is true about autism or autistic disorder? 7, letter D. Onset prior to age 3. So ito yung dati natin explain, di ba? Marami siyang statement sa isang choice. So you need to look dun sa truth statement of each of those phrases in the choices. So ang nag-meet is letter dog, no? Tama, prior to age 3, as early as 1-year-old, 12 to 18 months, pwede na. You can see signs already. Prognosis is best, late onset. Diba naalala niyo yung early, yung mga criteria for worst prognosis? So kapag the earlier, the worst concerns. Pag late, relatively, it will be more okay or more manageable. And 4 to 5 times common in males. So yung letter D tama. So the rest mali. One way or the other, the A, B, and C have some mistake on the statement. For example, yung prior to age 5, hindi. As early as 18 months, pwede. Pag later than 3 years old, for example, lumabas yung mga symptoms after lumabas yung mga symptoms 6 years old na. So, ibig sabihin, there was a period, mula nung 3 years old siya, wherein there's really already an increased amount of verbal activity. 4 years old, 5 years old, okay naman siya. Tapos biglang 6 years old nagka-problema. Then, ano yun? You need to look at it on a different angle. It may not be autism. Kasi, at the start, he's okay developmentally, tapos biglang nag-retard. So, bakit kaya? There's something there. Kung mag-meet siya sa criteria ng intellectual disability, that's a possibility. That can also be. No? Kumbaga, hindi nagtuloy yung development. No? So, biglang nag-halt somewhere around 6 years old. That's a possibility. No? Kasi, ang assumption with intellectual disability, sabi nila, mula bata pa daw yan, talagang umpisa ng baby pa lang talagang intellectual disability. We may or may not buy that idea. O pwede okay siya somewhere down the road, tapos biglang nag-halt o biglang huminto na. Okay? Pero with intellectual disability naman, pag matanda ka na, tapos biglang may symptom ng intellectual disability, baka yung intellectual disability yun. No? Yung kumbaga, umabot ka na ng adolescent, okay ka naman. Tapos biglang hindi ka na makasabay sa school, nag-retard yung mathematical ability, even yung speech mo, etc. Magugulat ka. Bakit ganun? So, hindi siya meet doon sa developmental expectation mo for each of the developmental milestone or age group. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo sa DSM-5, kung nire-review nyo yung mga criteria sa DSM-5, makikita nyo that there are some age ranges or there are some age qualification for each of these. You need to look at it. Okay? Number 8, better prognosis. O yeah, prognosis ulit ha. Kung mapapansin niyo yung mga questions natin dito na sinelect natin for difficult questions, they are the questions na about prognosis or some of the etiology, yung mga ganyan. Oh, which of the following is best prognosis? Number 8. Of course, letter boy, late onset, di ba? Sabi nila, relatively, the male gender or the males will have poorer prognosis when it comes to schizophrenia. Bakit? Not necessarily about the gender or the sex per se, but the idea that the males will have an earlier onset. So, of course, you know that early onset will result to poorer prognosis. So, yun. That's a possibility. And, yun. So, number na tayo. 9. True statements about Alzheimer's include all except. Number 9, letter dog. Clear phenomenological separation between early onset and late onset. When it comes to, when you're talking about phenomenological separation, what are we talking about here? Okay. Kasi lahat daw to true di ba? So, in-explain na natin, I think we explained this already in the past. No? So, yung letter A, tama yan, di ba? Earlier the onset, with a certain family member, the more, no? The disease will happen. Brain imaging studies, tama yan. When it comes to identifiable cause. Early onset may have more rapidly progressing. So, sabi ko nga sa inyo, diba, the earlier the symptoms, the poorer the prognosis. So, baka mas lalo siyang mas mabilis mag-progress into dementia. That's a possibility. Pero yung letter dog, between early onset and late onset, it's just the same. When it comes to phenomenological or the experience of the symptom. Ibig sabihin, ano yung experience ng symptom nila? Ganun din. They have aphasia, they have amnesia, or they're having difficulty forming new memories. They're having problems in concentration. Whether it happened to you 40 years old or it happened to you 60 years old, parehas lang. So the differentiation between early onset and late onset is of course automatic, commonsensically, is about age. No? The cutoff is, if I'm not mistaken, it's 40 years old. 40 years old and younger, yeah, early onset. I mean, 30 years old, you have symptoms of Alzheimer, that's early onset. And you know that this is problematic. The earlier the onset, the poorer the prognosis. Versus dun sa geriatric client, at 55 o 65, tsaka siya nagkaroon ng Alzheimer's or early ng mga symptoms ng Alzheimer's. So yun, expected age group to have Alzheimer's. Okay? Okay. Yes, bro. Better prognosis. Bakit daw mas better prognosis yung late onset? So yung onset is kung kailan nagsimula, di ba? So, ganito yan. We can explain it using two ideas which the literature can actually support. Yung first idea is about the diastasis stress model. So, ganito yan. Kapag bata ka pa, wala ka pa masyadong stress na experience sa buhay. Kaya sabi nila, bakit yung psychiatric disorder hindi lumilitaw basta-basta during childhood years? Kasi wala pa naman masyadong stress diba? Bakit pag high school hindi rin agad-agad lumilitaw? Well, relatively pataas pa lang ang stress level, no? Going college. So, during high school and college years, dyan na tumataas yung stress level. Okay? That's why some of the symptoms are already appearing. Pero you can imagine, if a certain client, as early as childhood, nagkaroon na siya ng signs and symptoms. So that is something not attributable to stress in the environment, but what? Attributable to what? To biological predisposition. So ibig sabihin, bata pa lang talaga siya, sa simula pa lang talaga, mataas na yung diastasis or yung biological predisposition. So, ibig sabihin, the more that that client will be predisposed and susceptible to lots of stress in the future in general. Same goes with, for example, a client na 30 years old na siya bago lumabas yung delusions, hallucination. Versus yung client na nung high school pa lang, lumabas na yung mga symptoms. So, ibig sabihin, konting trigger pa lang ng stress sa environment during high school years, lumabas na na-precipitate na yung predisposition. So, ibig sabihin, mahina yung kanilang diastasis. Versus doon sa 30 years old, na ang dami niya ng stress na napagdaanan, at siguro meron lang talagang very traumatic incident, kaya na-trigger yung psychopathology. Okay? So at that point, makikita mo na those people na early onset o maagang nagkaroon ng disorder, makikita mo na ang cause ng kanilang disorder is less of the environment but more of their diastasis. Innate na talaga. So you can just imagine, when it comes to treatment, mas mahirap i-treat yung ganong klase ng case versus dun sa isa na more environmental ang cause. Kasi kung more environmental, then ayusin ko yung family through family therapy, bibigyan ko siya ng good coping skills, etc. Then, mas okay siya, mag-cope siya sa problems. Nung isa, predisposition na biological. So, mas mahirap yon. So, yon, that's one idea. Pangalawa naman, is yung sinasabi ko nga sa inyo, yung the vulnerability hypothesis, yung regarding the scar hypothesis. No, the early the onset, the earlier you are also what? Exposed to the signs and symptoms. Okay, halimbawa, huwag na tayo lumayo sa schizophrenia. Just take schizophrenia. It's very easy to conceptualize. Pag early onset ng schizophrenia, what are some of the symptoms that you can imagine? Of course, you have delusions, you have hallucinations, you can even have social withdrawal. Those things will hamper or will have some effect on your social interaction. So yung mismong experience mo ng signs and symptoms will what? Can actually affect the other aspect of your life. Which can further what? Can further contribute to the concern. I mean, dapat kapag high school ka, college ka, you're having a good time socially interacting. You're increasing your social networks. Pero sa kanila, hindi. Kasi because of, meron silang episode ng delusion, hallucination, meron silang thought disturbances, hindi sila makarelate sa ibang tao. So, the positive effects of social interaction, hindi nila na experience. Even with depression, ganun din. No? Imagine a client with depression who is always have these strong suicidal tendencies. So as early as, kung early onset siya, then the more na lagi siya nag-commit ng suicide, wala siyang gana sa buhay. So isipin mo kung college level, kung college years ka, high school ka, wherein at those period, you're planning ahead. Pero dahil siya, early onset, nagkaroon siya ng depression, wala, shutdown siya. Anedonia, ayaw niya magplano, etc. So isipin mo, a student cannot or do not have a very, at least a plan for the future. So the mere experience of these signs and symptoms actually contributes to the concern. Now, if we go deep further in the brain, the mere experience of these signs and symptoms also have an effect sa neurons when it comes to the synapses. No? Kumbaga, ano siya, it's directly written in the way neurons connect with each other. Halimbawa, kayo, pag nag-aaral kayo, syempre, the more na nag-aaral kayo, certain parts of the brain are more what? More strongly connected. Kasi lagi kayo nag-aaral, nagpa-practice. Versus doon sa isang tao na early onset, as early as high school, as early as early college, ang tumatakbo sa isip nila puro delusions, puro hallucinations. So ganun din, the connections in the brain that are reinforced are those that are for what? For concrete thinking, for delusions. So the mere experience of that symptom can actually affect you in the long run. So with that two mechanisms, the early onset will have a poorer prognosis, no? Versus to sa late. And although this is not related to prognosis, but on a practical side, the earlier the onset, the more gastos you have. No, this is more on the practical, not prognosis, pero it may or may indirectly affect. So kapag mas maaga kang na early onset, mas marami may mga maintenance ka na, etc., the more that you are actually being burdened by the disorder. Versus yung matanda ka na bago ka nagkaroon ng disorder. In the long run, there might be an indirect effect on that. So yun. So may mga reasons bakit worse prognosis yung early onset. Bakit worse prognosis yung mas maraming symptom or signs na na-experience. Excuse me. So same din yung explanation regarding the experience of the signs and symptoms affecting you in a negative way. And of course, diastasis also. No? Probably the more symptom you have, it's because your body or the way your body adapts to these kinds of stress. Ganon, no? Talagang innate na. No? That's a possibility. Okay? So, anong number na tayo? 11? 10? In distinguishing schizophrenia from amphetamine-induced toxic psychosis, the presence of each of the following is most helpful. Number 10, it's letter A. Okay? Na-explain ko na to dati. Pero to reiterate, bakit pinaghambing yung schizophrenia at amphetamine-induced toxic psychosis? Of course, both of them have psychotic manifestation. Diba? So ngayon, paano mo mapaghihiwalay yan? Eh, di ba sa differential diagnosis, unahin mo muna na malaman kung substance-induced or there is a substance involved directly affecting the signs and symptoms. So, hindi porket may psychosis, schizophrenia agad. Tanungin mo muna, baka may substance na ginamit. So, paano mo tatanungin yun? Siyempre, mag-a-assess ka. Kung yung hallucinations na is more of a tactile or visual, then you may suspect baka substance yan. Of course, you need to ask for also kung nag-take ng substance yung client. Kasi baka mamaya, okay, tactile, visual, pero hindi naman siya nag-take talagang substance ever. So, magdududa ka, bakit? Anong meron? Baka naman kasi medical condition ng concern. You need to check. Mamaya, nabagok pala yan. Diba? O na, nagka-stroke, for example. Tapos, nagkaroon ng concern na one of the signs and symptoms, psychosis, pero may visual hallucination, apektado tong occipital area. That's a possibility. Marami pwede mangyari. So, ibig sabihin, nasa burden ng psychometrician at psychologist to assess the client very well. Okay? So, number 11, which of the following statements about dopamine hypothesis of schizophrenia is true? 11 is C. No, this is a complex question. It really just want to know your understanding about the neurotransmitter hypothesis. Basic template, higher dopamine, psychosis will happen. Ganun lang. So, kaya letter C ang sagot. It's because itong higher amphetamine provoke challenge or nag-administer amphetamine, so nagkaroon ng psychotic episode. So, yun yung link. Yun yung parehas sa high dopamine or mas stimulate mo yung dopamine production, the higher the psychotic symptom. The rest are mali. No? Mali yung letter A regarding postsynaptic sensitivity. It's more about the availability of dopamine. Mali yung letter boy. Higher during remission. Eh di ba pag remission, okay ka na? So dapat low ang dopamine doon. Ganon din yung letter do. Negative symptoms, ibig sabihin dapat mababa ang dopamine. Eh sir, di ba pag negative symptoms, schizophrenia din? Criteria pa nga sa schizophrenia. So ngayon, ano matatawag na high dopamine when it comes to schizophrenia? Yun yung positive symptoms. Pag negative symptoms, mababa naman ang dopamine level. Sir, bakit ganon? Sa isang schizophrenia, di ba alam natin high dopamine? Bakit may negative symptom? No? So some clients are actually predisposed to have negative symptoms, especially if they are taking, for example, they have medications. So nawawala yung positive symptoms, pero na-highlight yung negative symptoms. And it lingers with them. No? I need to find that literature, pero I think I've read something na men are more predisposed to positive symptoms, females more on negative. I need to find that literature again. Pero hindi ganun kadami nagsasabi ng ganun. Pero ibig sabihin, negative symptoms, positive symptoms can happen both ways in schizophrenia. But the mechanism is still on the dopamine. Low dopamine, negative symptom. High dopamine, positive symptom. Ganun lang siya. Okay? Number 12. Features weighing towards good prognosis in schizophrenia except 12-letter dog. So, kumbaga, hahanapin mo na lang yung worst on this, worst prognosis. And the worst is having an undifferentiated or disorganized. Kasi lahat daw good. You can argue it may not be that good. Pero ano yung pinaka-except dito? So, it will be letter dog. Okay? Number 13. A chronic schizophrenic has been taking medications for 20 years. Every morning he goes to pill, take his pills. Ano tawag dyan? Yan ay 13 letter C, tertiary prevention. Remember yung natin, levels of prevention. Standard to across the healthcare setting. So doctors, nurses, dentists, physical therapists knows this. This is a World Health Organization in the parlance of WHO regarding preventions. So you know this already. If you're in the tertiary prevention already, ibig sabihin, the disorder happened already, And the idea is more on the recovery or how you manage those symptoms. Pag primary prevention, wala pa talaga. You are more into preventing any of the early symptoms to happen. Yun lang sa primary prevention. So the client, walang symptoms, walang diagnosis. So the idea is to make that person have a good well-being, educate that person, have some stress management program para hindi siya ma-predispose into something else. Pero pag secondary prevention, may signs and symptoms na. So ang goal ng prevention there is to prevent aggravation of signs and symptoms. If possible, prevent the client from going to acute phase. Kung nasa acute phase na siya, of course, you prevent to aggravate it further or to prolong it without any treatment measures. Yun ang secondary prevention. Pag tertiary, you want to help the client rehabilitate, manage the signs and symptoms na magiging adaptable siya sa kanyang revision phase, for example. Okay? Which of the following tests would be best used for testing executive functioning? Di ba naalala niyan? Yung mga executive functioning ngayon, working memory, cognitive impairment niya, mga magkaka-link sila. In the same idea, dapat ang 40 na sagot nyo ay letter DOG, trail making test. And you know an example of a trail making test, right? Yung umpisa ng MOCA test. Diba? That's a trail making test. Sino dito nakapanood ng Jessica Soho kagabi? Yung nawawala yung pera. Ha? Meron ba dito? Hindi na kayo nanonood ng TV? Grabe kayo. Meron doon kasi may matanda. Binigyan siya separation pay. Hindi niya na, tapos nagka-stroke siya. Hindi niya na matandaan saan niya nalagay. Tapos somewhere down the road, nung bumagyo, naghimus-himus sila ng gamit, nakita sa drum yung pera. Tinago pala niya sa misis niya. So, sabi ng misis ko, ang lesson daw, huwag magtago daw ng pera sa misis. But anyway, ang nangyari, may cognitive impairment siya. Meron siyang may dementia siya. Vascular dementia. So, tapos pinagamot siya ng Jessica Soho. So, nakita ko sa preview, yung neurologist, nag-administer ng MOCA test. Hindi nyo ba nakita yan? Meron kasi yung MOCA test, it's fairly a standard screening test, no? For cognitive impairment. And yung umpisa nun, yung visual, spatial, tsaka executive functioning, yun yung trail making test. Alam niyo na yun? 14, dog, 15. 15. Which one of the following is not true regarding the mental status examination? Hindi totoo, letter C. Diba? Ito yung niloloko tayo, no? Diba? Talagang it's trying to confuse you. But thought content is about delusion. Ano laman ng utak mo? Anong laman ng thoughts mo? Delusion. Thought content. Ang hallucination is more on the the perception about the environment. 16. The brain of patients with schizophrenia often reveal enlargement of ventricles. Letter C. You know this already. Some biological explanation. Letter C. Ventricles. Or yung mga empty spaces. Diba? Yung hippocampus, alam niyo naman, it's more involved in memory. The caudate, itong caudate, itong letter B, yung caudate nucleus or caudate, I think it's more related with addiction or some, the pleasure center, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, each of parts of the brain will have multiple functions. Corpus callosum, you know, the one that links between the left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Cerebellum. Hello. Cerebellum, you know, the purpose. The cerebrum. Uy. The cerebrum is more on the cognitive functions, but cerebellum is more on the more native human functions or processes, like digestion, yung mga ganyan. But there's a compelling research na yung fear response may have some primitive linkages on the cerebellum. Oo nga, hanapin ko nga. May nabasa akong ganun. Kung di ako magkakamali. Kasi kung i-imagine niyo nung mga unggoy pa kayo, ay nung mga palaka pa kayo, wala namang cerebrum eh. It's more about cerebellum. So what navigates these primitive animals is the cerebellum. But they have fear response, they have the propensity to kill another animal para mabuhay sila. So yung mga ganong basic instinctual functions, nasa cerebellum. So kung sa tao, aside from amygdala, we may want to look into cerebellum or some other primitive areas of our brain, especially limbic system, etc. Anyway. Meron ba dito magdodoktor? Wala. Magastos eh, no? Pero yung iba kasi psych professionals na proceed to medicine para daw maging psychiatrist. So yan ang aaralin nyo. Neuropsychiatry. 18. O yan, may cognitive impairment. Hindi na maano yung sunod-sunod na numbers. No, 17. Which one of the following would be listed under thought content? O ito na naman, niloloko na naman tayo. Binibiro-biro lang tayo ng question. 17. More of letter A. Diba? Kasi ano yung nasa isip niya ngayon? More on obsessions. Those are imagery or some visuals regarding some thoughts that are actually not very welcoming. They don't want those thoughts actually. 18. The rapid cycling specifier bipolar 1 have what? 18 letter B. Alam niyo na ito, di ba? 4 in 12, apat na beses in a year. Marami yun, no? And you know that if you are a rapid cycler, it's a poor or worse, good or poor prognosis. It's more of poor. Kasi ang idea is to have a stable mood, no? Stable behavior, stable patterns of mood and behavior. So kung ikaw apat na beses kasi isang tao, that's weird. No? That's really weird. 19. Which one of the following best explains pathological gambling? Letter B. Diba? Random reinforcement. How about in 20? A patient presents to emergency room because of alcohol withdrawal. He and his family describe history of alcohol-induced blackout. Memory problem is most consistent with blackout. 20, letter C. Okay? Yung blackout na term is specifically used to describe this kind of anterograde amnesia in clients who are chronic alcohol users. So it is safe to describe this incident of having some kind of amnesia with these clients na may chronic alcohol use as blackouts. Yun talaga yung parang term niya. Okay? Blackouts. Now, dahil nagba-blackout siya, ano nangyayari? There's a tendency to confabulate. Naalala niyo yun? Nabanggit ko na yung dati, di ba? Confabulation. Ano yung confabulation? Nag-blackout, hindi siya makapag-form ng new memories. Tapos tinanong siya, oh, kamusta yung party? Nakita ko si congressman, etc. Oo, nakita ko. Okay naman. Puro generic yung sagot. Ano sabi niya? Kamustahan lang kami. Pero wala naman nangyari ganun. Hindi naman totoong nangyari. Bakit? Nag-confabulate na. Nag-invento lang siya. Just to fill gaps in the memory. There's that tendency. Okay? Clients with chronic alcohol use and clients with dementia, that's one thing na po pwede nyong tignan. No? Clients with dementia may not although it's not a good diagnostic or any, it's on your own expert thing. But you may want to look into that confabulation. Kasi clients with dementia will, the tendency is not to confabulate. They are confused. Bakit hindi ko matandaan? Alam ko yun eh. Ganun yung most of them, ganun yung frame of thinking. So they will not confabulate but actually be confused or will try to remember and will be frustrated to themselves that they cannot remember. Pero sa mga clients with alcohol use, with chronic alcohol user, they confabulate. So, pero hindi ito hindi ito evidence-based. You may just want to explore that line of thinking just to add on certain incremental validity in the way you diagnose. Remember Ma'am Trina's incremental validity yesterday? That's one way to use it. Adding lots of different evidences so that you can support certain claims. Okay. Number 21. A patient with depression tells the therapist about a variety of unpleasant personal circumstances in the past, worries about friends being sad, and reluctance to watch the news. The only news is bad news. So we have this scenario previously. Letter O, selective attention bias. While in 22, primary gains, alam niyo na ito, letter A, to relieve the symptom or the expression of anxiety, primary gain. Pero the gains or the other benefits coming from the people who sympathize with that person, that will be the secondary gains. 23, a client has recently been admitted for depression, suicidalization, planning on harming himself. The client is risk of attempting suicide when? 23, do. Now, ako on my personal take, we need to have a more evidence based on this kind of phenomenon here in the Philippines. Pero mainstream literature will tell us na kapag naging okay bigla yung mood ng client, yung pag depressed tapos bigla suddenly, okay siya, nakangiti na. And then, ano pang mga activities? Yung parang pinupuring niya yung mga kasama niya. Yung parang kala mo, it's the last day. I mean, it's the last day of his life. Nagahabilin, gano'n, etc. You know something will happen. No? Parang gano'n yung idea about this question. It may lead to suicide tomorrow. Parang gano'n. So, this is actually a signature question in most of the exams. For mental health professionals, you may want to just take note of this. 24. Serotonin has played significant role in depression. We should find correct about this phenomenon. 24. Boy. Di ba, increase, correct, decrease. Decrease level, yun ang depression. Pag mataas ang availability, mania naman, or manic episode naman, di ba? Naalala niya? So, mali yung letter A, kasi, okay, increase yung serotonin, pero ang mga symptoms niya, puro pang depression. Mali yun. Hindi sila magka-link, di ba? So, 24 letter boy. Yung 25 naman, in relation to biological nature of illness, which of the following is true about schizophrenia? It should be letter A, di ba? Low dopamine or hypodopaminergic state, negative symptom. Na-explain natin ito, di ba dati? Yung acetylcholine, it's not about schizophrenia. It's more about dementia. So low acetylcholine, dementia may happen or some problems with memory may happen. Letter C, mali rin. Dapat decreases bioavailability yung diba? Antipsychotic medication, papababain niya yung dopamine. So, mali yun. Hindi increase, dapat decrease. So, 25, letter A. 26. Itong 26, ito yung kay Sir Ron. So, nakakatawa yung mga pangalan ng client si Sir Ron. Main Mendoza. Ito naman, Laila Delima. would rather have or share deepest secrets with her pet hamster. Meron bang ganun? Kinakausap na yung hamster nila. Pero ito, obviously, this is more pathological in nature, no? So you should answer letter A, schizoid. Pero as you can see, some of the questions, katulad niyan, hindi naman... Uy, makasama. Subukan natin itong wireless naman. Pahinga ka muna. So, yung 26, some of the question, hindi naman siya diagnostic. I mean, who the hell cares if that person is talking to the hamster and not with the classmates? That does not lead you to diagnose a certain person as having schizoid. Pero for the benefit of the board exam, nung tinitignan nyo itong question na to, naiisip nyo pa ba yun? Hindi na, di ba? Ang naiisip nyo, this question is leading me to answer something. Okay, gano'n naman sa board exam. So you need to take note of those instances. Sometimes, for example, sa psychologist board exam, sa sobrang hirap ng mga tanong nila doon, dalawang bagay na lang tumatakbo sa isip ng mga psychologists na nagtitake ng board exam. Una, bakit ganun yung question? Parang hindi valid. Pero syempre, dahil board exam yun, wala naman sila, hindi nila po pwedeng ganunin yung exam nila. Yung pangalawa na nilang iniisip is, ano kaya ang nasa isip nung gumawa ng board exam? Para kung matatrace ko kung ano yung nasa isip niya, malalaman ko yung sagot. Parang ganun. So, ibig sabihin, some questions are actually leading you or suggesting you already to a certain choices or certain couple of choices to answer. So, okay. Number 27. Christian, 5 years old, is observed overly familiar verbal, physical behavior towards strangers. So, ito, bihira ng ganitong incident or instances in the wild. Pero at least DSM-5 have a category for that. The answer is letter dog, diba? No, social, disinhibited. No? So pag sinabing disinhibited, walang control. Okay? This is letter dog, 27. So pag sinabing disinhibition, walang control. Okay? Bira lang ng bira. Pag inhibited ka, by the term itself, you inhibit certain behaviors or impulses. Okay? Kaya kapag ang client is, for example, having chronic alcohol users, for example, they are, the disinhibition is high. Okay? Ibig sabihin, disinhibited sila. Go lang ng go sa pag-inom ng alak. And that's one trait that you may want to look into to explain addiction or gambling. 28. Maine Mendoza, 38 years old, has recently formulated an elaborate plan to cure cancer vitamin therapy. This is more of 28 letter C, no? Manic episode. Oh, that's the reason. Imagine, no? She bought lots of medication, she drank it, etc. That's really weird. The increase in the amount of activity that's actually dysfunctional already in nature. That is one thing that you need to look in clients with manic episode. Okay. So another when you want to assess. Parang yung isa sa mga question is, do you have the urge to start a certain project or an activity that parang hindi mo naman kailangan simulan? O do you want to, do you have this tendency to start many projects all at the same time or more, lots of activities all at the same time? Yan, mga ganyan yung mga tanong. Clients with manic, in the manic episode most of them will say yes to that. That's another question is, do you have this feeling as if you are on the top of the world? That you are over and above everyone and you can do everything, anything that you can imagine. Mga ganyan. That is another qualitative question that you can ask their clients with possible manic episode. Definitely they will say yes. Parang kala nila they are on the top of their game and they can do anything, everything. No? Pero the outcome is dysfunctional. No? So that's something that kasi pag tinanong mo yan sa volleyball players, mag-UAAP, syempre sasabi nila, yes, of course. Pero they are not manic. They're just that. They're on their top shape. Pero that's functional. Pag dysfunctional na, that's something. We need to look deeper. 29. Halton Richards is diagnosed with bipolar 2. You can expect that she will experience what? 29? Boy, hypomanic episode. Remember the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2? Bipolar 2 is more on the hypomanic and depression. The manic episode, the presence of the manic episode. So you know the differences between the two. Yung letter A, for example, yung letter A, both manic and hypomanic episode. At least the phrasing should be both manic and hypomanic episodes have occurred during the history of the client. Pag ganyan, bipolar 1 siya kasi may manic siya eh. Diba? So, basta meron lang isang manic sa buong history, bipolar 1 siya. Pero kung hindi pa siya nagpa-manic episode, hypomanic depression, that's bipolar 2. That's the most clear-cut differentiation between the two. 30. Psychopathologies are considered developmental disorder when there is 30. C. Significant dysfunction during childhood. That's if you see the developmental disorders in the DSM-5, most of them talks about having a concern or the dysfunction or a sign and symptom during the childhood years. 31. Children with attention deficit hyperactive disorder are known to have deficits in brain areas 31. C. Executive functioning. Bakit? Yun ang magandang tanong. Bakit? Bakit executive functioning sa 31? Sa ba yung executive functioning sa ano yan? Dementia, cognitive impairment, working memory, executive functioning. Why is it that it's also implicated with ADHD? The very simple answer is clients with ADHD has problems with attention and focus, concentration. And if a person wants to concentrate on something, then definitely their working memory should work. Working memory. And that is an executive functioning. So, yun, problema din sila. Okay, number 32. Just thinking about sex makes Homer anxious. When exposed to sexual images, he reports feeling disgust. Homer would most likely be diagnosed with 32 letter C. May mga saltik talaga yung mga professor na sa Spark. Did you watch the videos in the USB? Sir Homer is the TOP, the lecturer in the TOP there. Sir Homer is in Japan right now doing his visitor trainee there, visitor professorship stint. So this is the first time that he was not able to teach in Spark during the review. So lahat si Sir Ron ang tumarabaw ng TOP natin. 31, tapos na tayo. 32, letters C. 33. Which of the following would not be an example of substance use? 33. Kaya nadudulig na ako. 33. Dog. No? Getting drunk. Ano ang tawag sa getting drunk? Substance abuse. Okay, number 34. 34. Brenda wants to be a full-time mother to her 1-year-old son, but she also likes to maintain her successful career. What source of stressor is she experiencing? 34, this is more of letter dog, letter D. While in 35, 34, oh, teka. O sige, the letter C. Double approach conflict. 34 ba yan? Teka. Note ko nga. C. Ano yung letter A niyo dyan? Avoidance. Pero mali lang ang spelling, no? Ganito. Anyway, o sige, the answer here is C. Then I'll ask her long about ang C ninyo, double approach, conflict. Conflict. Let's check on that. Okay. How about in 35? Which of the following is considered a mood stabilizing treatment for disorder, bipolar disorder? This is letter C. Okay. Lithium. Lithium is, of course, a mood stabilizer. So, clients with manic episode, clients with bipolar disorders, they can be administered with lithium. Now, definitely these are nice to know things. Kasi this question about medication, you should be familiar but not hindi naman expected na sobrang you know everything. Okay? Just the basics like lithium is a mood stabilizer for clients with bipolar disorders. Or you can also include valproic acid. Benzodiazepine or yung Valium, anxiety yun, diba? Yung mga ganun lang kasimple. Chlorpromazine or yung Thorazine, antipsychotic or neuroleptic, diba? Or tranquilizer yung mga tawag sa kanya. Those are some easy stuff that you can remember. The rest, there's a lot of medication. And there are a lot of new medications na nai-invento. So, psychometricians are not expected to know everything, at least be familiar with the major ones. Psychologists should be, but in the Philippines, they are not obliged to. In the US, they are obliged to know this stuff. So, number 36, methylphenidate treatment of children and ADHD addresses this biological etiology. So, nabanggit ko na, I think I was able to mention this previously regarding the mechanism with ADHD. Kaya binibigyan sila methylphenidate. Methylphenidate is a methamphetamine-derived substance. So, more stimulant siya. So, dapat sa 36, ang sagot nyo is more of letter A. Diba? Paradoxically, no, they actually have diminished arousability. Mababa yung arousal or yung so they need to stimulate themselves to be aroused. 37, brain structure plays an important role in human emotions. 37, letter A, amygdala. Ano yung vagus nerve? The vagus nerve is involved in parasympathetic response. Okay? Vagus nerve is also known as cranial nerve 10, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's cranial nerve 10. So if you stimulate the vagus nerve, parasympathetic response of our body will happen. Sir, paano kung i-stimulate yung vagus nerve? Don't stimulate it. You will die. No, if the vagus nerve is stimulated, the heart rate will suddenly drop. Okay. So, may mga may mga how to get away with murder mindset dyan. Mga idea. Anyway. So 38, to enhance diagnostic specificity. Grabe naman ito. DSM-5 replaced the previous NOS designation with two options. Otherwise specified and unspecified, which are following true about the use of unspecified designation. Alin dito ang true? 38, it's letter A. No? But the term itself, di ba, unspecified. So, hindi niya ma-specify yung dahilan. Basta yun yung diagnosis niya, pero unspecified. So, yun ang letter A. Pero as much as possible, the recommendations of clinician is not to use this designation at all. No? One way or another, you can really pin it down to some of the categories that you know. So it's the skill of the clinician to really do the differential diagnosis. 39. Which of the following provides biopsychosocial approach to understanding the risk factors, conduct disorder? 39, letter psychosocial. So, tingnan natin. Yung letter A, anong binigay na sagot ni Sir Ron sa inyo? O iba na naman yung answer key na binigay sa akin. O tingnan natin, isa-isayin natin. So kung biopsychosocial, dapat may biological, may psychological, may social. That's given. Pero in relation to the conduct disorder. So tingnan natin, isa-isayin muna natin yung A, B, C, and D. Okay? Reduced frontal lobe size. This is not a typical picture of conduct disorder. Neurobiological deficits, like executive functioning, this is not a typical picture. No? Or else, iba ang problema. Clients with conduct disorder, they tend to break some rules, to do their own way against the authorities, and do lots of stuff. So if they are that kind of person, definitely they have some level of executive functioning working. And some of them are really smart. Some literatures will tell us that these people are relatively have an okay IQ. So hindi okay, hindi sagot yung A and B. No? When it comes to genetic factor is very general in nature. It will be correct on any disorder. So we can leave genetic factor as a hanging answer. Letter D, diminished arousability. Paano itong diminished arousability na to? Is that applicable? That is something to be argued. No? So kung hindi na pwede A at B, so C and D na tayo titingin. So yung difficult temperament, pwede, no? With the conduct disorder. Yung isa naman, insecure attachment. Ang insecure attachment will more lead to problems such as borderline PD, dependent PD, and some other problems with social interaction. Either hindi siya specified on a certain disorder. So it looks like the answer is more of letter C, no? Tapos inadequate parental supervision. Yung letter dog naman, low conscientiousness. O tama, mas kompleto yung C. Kasi bio, psycho, and social. Itong letter dog, hindi na siya nag-meet dun sa insecure attachment and open. Tama ba? Letter C din yung sagot ni sir. O yun, third na. So mali itong key. Dapat, kasi dito sa key, letter P, dapat C. Duda ako dito eh. O yan, tama. So at least nare-review natin yung ano, yung rationale. Importante naman kung paano tayo mag-arrive sa sagot eh. Okay? Oh. Okay, let's go to number 40. Which of the following is not a criterion for the DSM-5 diagnosis of ADHD? Not a criterion. 40, letter C. Okay. Now about in 41, the brain's pleasure pathway affects the experience of reward. Some substances increase the availability of neurotransmitter, thereby producing a high. What? 41, letter B, dopamine. Kaya nga yung mga drugs, parang it can lead you to have psychosis because the dopamine is increased. Pero may mga ibang drugs that they both increase serotonin and dopamine as well. So iba nagsi-seizures or nagkakaroon ng seizures, tapos muscle tension, etc. Taas ang temperature. (42) Sexual dysfunctions have the following etiology except for letter C, tama. Ignorance about sexuality and sexual function. While in 43, which of the following is behavioral etiological explanation of paraphilic disorder? Behavioral explanation. So kung 43, that should be letter C, of course. That talks very well about paraphilia. In 44, which of the following is not a negative symptom? So, ibig sabihin, alin dito ang positive? So, letter dog, catatone yan. Diba? That's very obvious. 45, psychotherapy is indicating in a letter of reference for a job application about the client's sexual addiction. Which of the following PAP ethical principle is violated? 45, alin na nababiolate dito? A, oo, letter A. So, mali rin itong answer dito. It should be A. Okay. 46. A 68-year-old semi-retired cardiologist responsible for ECG at this hospital observed to make mistakes in ECG. Disclose symptoms of persistent sadness, frequent thoughts of death, mini-mental status exam, 28 out of 30. Ano ang problema nitong taong ito? It's more about major depression, letter to. Is the 28 out of 30 MMSE what? Does it tell something? May mild cognitive impairment na ba yung 28 out of 30? Wala pa, di ba? 26 below. Below 26. Sa MOCA test, alam ko, below 26 din. Assuming, ano siya, 19. 19 out of 30. O kaya, assuming 21 out of 30. Tapos ganyan din yung symptoms. Would that make you change your answer in 46? Hindi pa din, di ba? Bakit hindi? At yun ang gusto kong malaman sa inyo. Bakit hindi? Eh kasi para walang erasure siya. Kaya bakit hindi? Anong reason? Of course, you need to collaborate with the other signs and symptoms as well, di ba? Now, there is also what you call pseudo-dementia. No? Ano yung pseudo-dementia symptoms? No? So, clients who are old already, which this client actually meet the criteria, 68-year-old, they, akala mo may dementia, naging akalimutin, irritable, etc., confused. Pero yun pala, hindi siya dementia, but there is actually an underlying depression Now, that underlying depression affects the way they what? They conduct their lives. No? Wala silang gana, they suddenly becomes out of focus, they cannot concentrate. So parang kala mo may mga signs and symptoms ng dementia. Pero actually, hindi siya dementia. It's what we call pseudo-dementia. And it's common with clients with elderly clients. So ibig sabihin, hindi porket the client is confused or having problems in memory, dementia agad. It may be pseudo-dementia, it may be dementia, it may even be delirium. Kaya if you have some books, probably you may see some differentiation. Tatlo yan may table. Pinagkukumpara nila delirium, dementia, tsaka pseudo-dementia. Tapos ang unang comparison, onset. Ano ang onset ng client with delirium when it comes to signs and symptoms? Abrupt, mabilis. Suddenly it happens. Sa dementia, slow progressive. Sa pseudo-dementia, sometimes it's slow progressive, sometimes it's sporadic. Some books will tell it's sporadic. Parang bigla-bigla na lang. Minsan okay, minsan hindi. No? Kasi it's about depression, it's not about that pseudo-dementia. Tapos the prognosis sa delirium, it can be reversed within weeks or within that week or within days. Sa dementia, hindi. It cannot be reversed. It will continue on and on. Sa pseudo-dementia, it depends. It depends whether you treat that underlying depression or not. No? Yun. So, may mga ganong differentiation. Tapos, tinatanong din, of course, the depression. Presence of So, syempre, clients with delirium, wala yun. Kasi iba yung symptom niya. Sa client with dementia, there might be depression also. Pero the more core concern would be really problems with memory, executive functioning, the cognitive impairment. Parang chicken and egg. Sa dementia, nagkakaroon ng depression kasi confused siya. I mean, nahihirapan siya sa buhay niya. Sa pseudo-dementia naman, depressed siya, kaya siya nahihirapan mag-isip or mag-concentrate. Okay? So, sir, paano malalaman doon sa dalawang yun? Kung sino ang sino? Di hanapin mo yung mas prominent ang symptom, mas core ang symptom. Okay? So, yun. Number na tayo. 47. Which of the following statements about diagnosis of specific learning disorder is false? So the answer here is 40 ano tayo? 47. So, while in 48, the client keeps on narrating his delusion during interview, which of the following is least applicable? Therapeutic communication skills. 48, it's dog. Okay. So, bakit least applicable? So, I think we have in the handouts, yung sa compilation of handouts, may chapter doon about interviewing, therapeutic communication skills. Now, bakit least applicable yung letter dog? Now, remember the client is having delusions. So, you cannot elicit further, no? Certain information. Bakit kaya? Bakit you cannot elicit certain information? Because this is part of thought disturbance. No? The client is having thought disturbance already. And they themselves probably may be confused at one way or another. So kung ipapa-elaborate mo pa o magpapa-elicit ka pa, ano sa palagay mo, sabi niya, ano ba yung mga kapitbahay pinag-uusapan na mo eh? Hanggang ngayon, habang nag-uusap tayo. So ngayon, pag mag-elicit ka ng insight, ganito ang style niya. Ano sa tingin mo? Tama kaya yun o mali? Sa tingin mo ba, ano kaya ang dahilan? Bakit kanila parang you further extort the delusion in an inappropriate manner. Some books will tell you na it's reinforcing the delusion. Na hindi naman dapat. It's enough for you to know the delusion, the theme of the delusion. Ano ibig sabihin ng theme? Ano ba to? Ang tema pa ng pinag-uusapan sa delusion is betrayal, abduction ba ito? O kalungkutan ba ito? Mga tipong nihilistic yung kanyang delusion? O somatic ba yung kanyang theme, anxiety ba, stressor, etc.? Yun. Hanggang doon lang. Afterwards, hindi. Kasi it will not do you good. Even the client will not benefit on it. No? Pero yung A, B, and C, tama yan. You present reality na, sir, sa pagkakalam ko, ganito, ganyan, etc. Focusing is, sir, you're talking about this a while ago, would you want to expound that more? Kasi patalon-talon siya kung ano nung delusion yung kinukwento niya pinag-uusapan nyo lang naman, anong kinain mo ngayong tanghali. Mga ganon. So, you need to refocus lang tayo. Or you restate the theme. Sa dinami-dami na sinabi niya delusion, na yung mga alien, ganito, ganyan, yung asawa niya, ganito, ganyan. So, you may want to restate. Sa dinami ng delusion na sinabi niya, sabi mo, sir, since the start of our session, you're talking about misery in life. Kasi I've heard you talking about your wife, I've heard you talking about this. So, ganon. So, instead na i-further elicit mo yung delusion, you restate the whole theme of the delusion. Para magkaroon din siya ng insight na, ay, ganon pala ako. Pero yung pag-restate ng theme, hindi po pwedeng invento nyo lang. Napagpapalagay nyo lang. So, there's actually a skill on this. Now, psychologists are more into this than psychometricians. But sometimes psychometricians will encounter clients that are like this, yung talagang dadak ng dadak, at may hirapan kayong mag-elicit ng information. So you need to do some strategies on how to talk with these people. Okay? Meron ba dito talaga sa assessment or sa clinical setting? MWF, wala pa kayong work? Sino dito may work na? Wala pa. Pag pumasa kayo ng board exam, anong plano nyo? Maghanap ng work. Sino sa HR? Marami sa HR di ba? Yung iba, saan? PMA muna. Pahinga muna. Ano? Pagmamaskom. Mas komportable sa bahay. Okay, so yun. So doon sa mga talagang mag-clinical, kausapin niyo si Ma'am Trina niyo. Actually, yun ang worry namin. No? Just before we proceed, we still have time pa naman. Ma'am, off the record, no, parang Ma'am Trina is voicing concerns with me regarding the future of psychometricians in general. Her honest take is she feels that those who will pass the board exam, those who are passing the board exam, most of them are not really qualified to be psychometricians. Not qualified because they still lack the skills needed to fully realize the job function of a psychometrician. You will pass the board exam, you have the knowledge, that's good. You have some of the basic skills because you did your practicum probably, or some of you are working already, that's good. Pero to really establish your career as psychometrician, the KSAO needed for that job function, hindi lahat ng psychometrician meron. So, ang sabi sa akin ng Prina, challenge yun para sa atin. How can we help this psychometrician develop those skill set or potential? Wala pang ganung movement as of now. PAP is not batting an eye on it. No research of whatsoever even touched the idea of psychometricians in the last PAP researches. Not a single word of psychometrician or career development in all the researches, wala. So technically, the psychology community, those who are researching, hindi nila focus yung future ng mga psychometrician as of the moment. So ang tanong, saan kayo mapupunta afterwards? Kung mapunta kayo sa paroroonan nyo, ang tanong, do you have the skill set needed? Those are hanging questions. The board exam, yan na yun eh. It measures your skill, it measures your knowledge. It's a gateway exam. At least it can sniff out or it can discriminate those that have potential or those who are need to still develop their potential or their basic foundation. But after that, what else? Those are practical concerns. So, ibig sabihin, mahirap maging psychometrician kasi marami kayong aaralin skills to really fixate your profession or your career as a psychometrician. But of course, some of you will be working in other settings like HR. So may iba naman din silang skills na kailangan matutunan. For example, baka yung iba sa inyo, are you familiar with labor relations? No, some HR practitioners, whether they are from the site majors or from other, they're taking labor relations as their masters, for example. Kasi that's more applicable with their work. Tapos they just add on with some of the skills like leadership motivation, some of those things. So marami pa kayong pagdadaanan. Itong board exam, ano lang to? Pasimulain pa lang to. Number 50. Which of the following statement is true? 49 pa ba? 49. Blank is good as a result of transfer of psychic energy related to repressed memories to physical symptoms. Of course, it's letter. This is, wait. Letter boy. No? Hindi ba may problema itong question na itong 49? Ano sinagot niyo with Sir Ron? Boy. Pero may sugot ng A. Anong sabi ni Sir Ron? What makes letter B the better answer? Kuha ko na. Bakit? Pakialam ko kung psychodynamic. Bakit hindi somatic symptom? What's your take? Bakit more of B rather than A? Eh di ba ang mechanism niya, pwede mo rin ma-explain ito psychodynamic. Nakuha niyo yung point? O, bakit letter B? Anyone can, di ba na-explain ni Sir, no? Nakuha ko na yung line of thinking. The term conversion disorder is highly linked with what? With the psychodynamic way of discussing the disorders. That's why pagdating ng DSM-5, ginawa siyang functional neurological, functional neurological symptom disorder. Pwede nyo gawing password. Mahaba. Bakit? No? The DSM-5, ang move ng DSM-5 during the time that they renamed those disorders is to make it, what, theoretical. Tinanggal nila yung mga lumang terminology, archaic, yung mga, tawag doon, yung mga more Freudian terminologies. Dati nga may, ang tawag sa conversion disorder, conversion hysteria. Tapos ginawa conversion disorder. Tapos ngayon, naging functional nila. So, tinanggal nila altogether any reference to any theoretical perspective, at least, no, para mas maging generic yung mga terminologies. So, if we're talking here about psychic energy and those repression and primary gain, these are talking about psychodynamic. So, there's a very thin line between A and B to answer letter B simply because conversion disorder is leaning towards the psychodynamic terminologies. But mechanism-wise, A and B are just telling the same with the STEM question, but we're forced to choose the best answer kaya siguro letter B. That's my take on this. That's the best take on this. Okay? Kaya nagtataka kayo, bakit pinalitan yung mga pangalan? Eh kasi nga, yung hypochondriasis, di ba? Bakit siya ginawang, ano ginawa sa kanya? Illness, anxiety. No? Tinanggal kasi hypochondriasis, mga old terminology yan eh, ng heavily psychodynamic ang niya, ang kanyang orientation. Naalala niyo ba dati may mga tawag pang neurasthenia, yung mga ganon. Neurosis, or even neurosis. Yeah. So those are more psychodynamic leaning terminologies. So they remove that. Probably that's the best explanation. 15th letter. The following, which of the following is true? Letter C. No. Involved in economics, negative feelings, pursuing, maintaining harmony, keeping in society. True eh. So, but yung letter B, mali, oh. Low body weight, importante pa rin yan. Even refusal to maintain a body weight. Okay. Mali rin yung letter A. So, you know these letters. Okay. Sige. Can we have a bladder break? Ang lamig, nalalamig gawin. I need to pee. I don't have a diaper in my sige. O, iinig kayo. We still have time. 51 to ano pa tayo, no? Sige. So, dali lang 5 minutes lang.
Muna natin ito.
So, to continue, so number 51. Oh, ano na to? Mock exam 1 yata ito, no? 51 to 75. So, the mental health professional will observe major difference in each of the mental status indicator. So, observe means, with observe, so the activity during this mental status exam is, you just need to observe. You don't need to ask anything. So the answer is letter A, no? Because appearance is something that needs to be observed rather than asked. Whereas the others, you need to really ask a certain question or statement. Okay? How about in 52? The best way to assess for working memory is to do what? So letter C, to perform a task. Okay? So how do you do that? Of course, you can give them instructions or some formal tests like with the MMSE or the OCA test. Okay? In 53, the client described the similarity between weighing scale and ruler. Remember kung similarity between a certain object, you're asking about what? About abstraction. Okay? So dapat ang sagot niyo sa 53 ay letter C. You know that already. And you know it's poor abstraction because concrete thinking. Di ba dapat good abstraction, an answer that will that's not very concrete in nature. No? 54. In learned helplessness model, depressed people is letter A, no? Incapable of having an effect in the environment. No? And then in 55, the theory that depression stems from negative view of oneself, etc. You know this already. It's what? Cognitive, letter dog. Sino nagpauso nito? 55. Si Aaron Beck, diba? 56. The peculiar mood, you know this already. Peculiar mood of inappropriate blandness. It's a very special kind of inappropriate affect. It's letter A, 56. Label indifference. Most commonly seen in clients with what? Conversion disorder or ang tawag sa ngayon, functional neurological symptom disorder. You know this already. 57, feigning of symptoms to assume a sick role, that would be the 7-letter boy, factitious disorder. You know the difference between factitious and malingering. So there's no need to reiterate that. 58, your answer should be letter A. As you can see, the situation is suggesting that the client wants to gain certain things or a certain benefit from being sick. Kaya malingering ito. 59, defense mechanism most associated with somatic disorder. 59, letter C, displacement. So the anxiety, the stress, those feelings were displaced internally on a certain body part. Okay. 40, expression of symptoms lead to primary secondary gain. Alin ang totoo tungkol dito? So, babad na kayo sa mga tanong tungkol sa primary and secondary gain. You should have answered 60, letter A. Diba? So, mali yung letter B kasi dapat yung B, primary gain yan. Oh. Yung letter C, it's unspecific. No? And even letter dog. Yung letter dog, it's more of secondary gain for the letter D. So you know the differences here. 61. Which of the following manifestation denotes positive symptom of schizophrenia? 61, letter A. You know this already because there's more behavior than the usual. While in 62, for the past 3 months, Tom's speech has been gradually deteriorating, becoming coherent. Purposeless stereotype behavior is symptom, not extremely active. We're talking about 62, letter dog, prodromal. When you are in the prodromal phase, what kinds of symptoms appears? The early signs and symptoms. 63, diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder was made. True about obsession, you know the difference between obsession and compulsion already. Between obsession, compulsion, and addicting or addiction, you know those, or even gambling, you know the differences between them. So 63, you should answer letter dog. It's not true, no? Yung hinahanap sa 63. They know that these obsessions comes from their mind. And given that they know that this is something not right, this is something that the working of my mind gives them what? It makes them what? Ego-syntonic or ego-dystonic? Obsessive compulsive. Review na lang to. Syntonic or dystonic? They are ego. Saan ba may ego? Ano yun? Ego-dystonic. Diba? Gutom lang ako tapos. Nagito naman ako. Oh, it's ego-dystonic, di ba? They know that something is not right. Whereas kapag personality disorder ka, ego-syntonic yun. Okay? Oh, please remember those terminologies, ha? Oh, 64. The mental health professional assesses the presence of each of the following etiological factors: dichotomous thinking. You know, this is family enmeshment, letter B, 64. Regarding those idea about high expressed emotion, remember those things? Even the other mechanisms in the family system's perspective that can lead to certain dysfunctional families like coalition, family enmeshment, the high expressed emotion. 65. During assessment of a client with antisocial PD, the mental health professional observed the client. 65. Dog. It's just a review. Ha? So kung mapapansin nyo, madali na itong mga tanong na to. Pero nung time na una yung tinake to, ito yung mga talagang wapak yung scores. 66. When assessing an adolescent client for depression, it is most important for psychometrists to recognize depression in adolescents is often what? So 66, letter boy, masked with aggressive behavior. And you know, sabi ko nga, paulit-ulit, the DSM-5 criteria are adult criteria. So the expression, the behavioral expression in adolescents and even with children may be different. Sir, paano namin malalaman kung saan yung mga yon? Paano namin malalaman, sir, kung yung behavior ng bata ay depression, major depression, or RAD. Remember RAD, reactive attachment disorder, or whatever disorder in DSM-5. So since since the criteria in DSM-5 is adult criteria, you need to look into literatures. The one better literature will be the DSM-5 itself, yung manual, yung malaki. So meron silang, yung DSM-5 na malaki, may discussions sila about differences when it comes to epidemiology, differences when it comes to different population, may mga cultural differences pa yan, tsaka developmental patterns from childhood and even old age. So pwede mong tignan doon. So if you will be working in a clinical setting, or if you will be working in a certain setting wherein iba yung population or yung client nyo na was more on bata or more adolescent, you may want to have a DSM-5 na malaki. Or you need to read lots of researches na that really deal with that population. For example, I'm peer reviewing certain researches sa Journal of Abnormal and Child Journal of Abnormal and Child Psychology. So, ang common na mga topics nila doon, okay, psychopathology, abnormal behavior, pero pusa bata. So, yung mga journals na yun, may mga may mga pag-aaral sila tungkol sa mga signs and symptoms na related to a certain disorder sa ganitong age group, no? Or better yet, you just go to the DSM-5 manual para mas madali. I just get the chart. Medyo number na tayo? 67. Sige, wait lang. Okay, naalala ko pala. Remember, di ba tinuro ko sa inyo that to arrive in a certain diagnosis, you need to have, of course, a good assessment, clinical assessment. That is something nearing to a semi-structured or a very unstructured way of doing it. You may actually ask, sir, wala bang structured interview? Na pag ginamit ko to, tinanong ko, automatic may diagnosis. Haven't you thought of that? Meron kayong checklist na kapag ginamit ko yung automatic ang sagot DSM-5 criteria or DSM-5 diagnosis. So, ang sagot dyan ay meron. The one is yung MINI. That's MINI version 7. So, it's a structured interview na para siyang flowchart. At nakapattern yung mga question niya sa DSM-5. Check lang. Siyempre tatanong mo yung client. Are you this? Or do you have this? Do you have that? Blah, 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 blah. Naka-highly pattern siya sa DSM-5 criteria. Tapos ang sagot nun sa dulo, based sa scoring, kung alin yung mataas ang score, yun ang diagnostic label. So meron, kung sa meron. So, for research purposes and for insurance purposes, sa ibang bansa ganun ang ginagawa nila. They use a structured interview to really objectively pin down the diagnosis. So, ibig sabihin, yung ginagawa natin, yung tinuro namin sa inyo, and most of the psychometricians and psychologists are actually doing it, it's more semi-structured way of doing it. Mag-i-interview ka, tapos mag-administer ka ng mga psychiatric rating scales, tapos based on that, aaralin mo, check mo with the criteria hanggang sa maka-arrive ka ng diagnosis. Pero kung tinatanong nyo ako, sir, meron bang structured way of doing it? Meron. One is yung NIMI version 7. Another one is yung Structured Clinical Interview for DSM-5, SCID, SCID. I'm not sure if it was translated to DSM-5 already kasi sa DSM-4 meron. So may mga ganon. If you're wondering if that exists, meron. You may want to check. Anyway, number na tayo? 67. 67. We're responding to a client with, or to the client asking about dyspnea. So, you should state the mood needs to be present. 67 letter, 2 years. 68. Distinguishing whether a client may have anorexia or bulimia. Recognize present only to anorexic clients. 68. Ano? Present only to a dog. Delayed psychosexual development. Remember we explained this already. Now, I'm not sure if I was able to explain this or told you about this. In DSM-4-TR, the criteria for anorexia nervosa even includes whether this client is menstruating or do not menstruate for the past 3 months. So, diagnostic criteria ng DSM-4-TR sa anorexia nervosa na kailangan yung babae hindi nire-regla for the past 3 months, consecutive 3 months. Sa DSM-5, tinanggal na yon. Bakit? Kasi nga, we're diagnosing a psychological phenomena here. What's the relate of having menstruation or not? And the idea is, anorexia nervosa can be diagnosed also to male clients. So, no DSM-4-TR, relatively, hindi ka pwede mag-diagnose ng male. Kasi hindi mo sila nire-regla. Diba? Pero sa DSM-5, pwede na. Kasi tinanggal na yon. Now, another idea is 2 things. No DSM-4-TR kasi, bakit may menstruation nga, by the way? Well, the idea is, on a biological take, when clients are depriving themselves of nutrition, so global yan, global malnutrition yan. Menstruation is actually affected. Pero, ang tatanungin mo, sir, bakit sa dinami-dami ng proseso ng buhay ng tao, bakit yung menstruation, yung marker? Bakit hindi na lang weight kasama yun? Bakit hindi na lang mass, anthropomorphic measure, na numpis talaga yung muscles o kita na yung clavicles, gano'n. Bakit hindi yun ang ginawang marker? Bakit yung menstruation for a lot of things but menstruation? Bakit hindi yung output ng urine, for example. So this client may also have decrease in output. Bakit hindi na lang CBC? Bakit hindi ganon? Bakit menstruation? The idea is simply because they believe that there is a psychodynamic explanation with anorexia. And one psychodynamic explanation, I think I was able to tell you this already, is that this female don't want to develop their, they don't want to proceed with their psychosexual development so that they will be just like their mothers. Parang ganon. Imagine this, if they were able to menstruate and develop their bodies into a woman, into a lady, they will be just like their mothers. You know this, the mother fearing explanations about these things, the very creative explanations regarding this. So the tendency of that female will not take food, so that they will delay their growth and development. And if they will not take those foods, then global yan, pati menstruation, they will not menstruate. So kung hindi sila menstruate, so hindi sila katulad ng nanay nila. One yung point, that's something. So kumbaga, at the end of the day, anong silbi ng menstruation? Eh, ang dami-dami ng mga physiological markers. So, yun ang nakakapagtaka, di ba, ng DSM-4. So, kita-kita mo na bakit menstruation nandun? Kasi, there is also a psychodynamic tint. No? May bahid psychodynamic kung bakit menstruation yung ginamit as a marker. Eh, ang dami-dami na. Ba't hindi CBC? Ba't hindi platelet count? Bakit hindi hematocrit? Levels ng dugo? O bakit hindi electrolyte measures? So, yun ang experience. So, tinanggal na siya sa DSM-5. Wala siyang use eh. And the idea anorexia nervosa is a psychological concern. And the sequel of that, o yung mga outcome niya is more physiological. So, we are more into the psychological manifestation. Outcome na lang later on, sequel na lang yung nutrition, etc. Anyway, that's just an added info. Baka kasi lumabas in the boards, ano pinagkaiba between DSM-4 and DSM-5 with anorexia nervosa. It's the criteria about menstruation. There's even a quality, it's not diagnostic, but in DSM-4, meron pa yung presence of lalugo. Alam niyo yung lalugo? Yung dark hairs. So, something like that. May ganun eh. Kumakapal daw yung hairs. Tama ba? Parang may ganun. It's not diagnostic, pero weird. Those are weird. Buti na medyo nag-improve sa DSM-5. Anyway, lahat kayo DSM-5 na nung nabuhay kayo sa mundo. I mean, nung nag-aral kayo, DSM-5 na. So, hindi nyo sana dumating yung time na hindi na pinag-uusapan niya yung DSM-4. Kasi nandito tayo sa period na transition. Alam niyo kung bakit? Off the record. Kasi yung mga board members, alam nila DSM-4. So, gano'n lang kasimple yun. Pero pag off the record, papapalitan naman sila because of the legal process. Pero pag napalitan na sila, hopefully, those who will be sitting in the board and who will create the board exam question are more acquainted with DSM-5. Will definitely changes coming with it. Tayo na lang natin. 40 yan na tayo. 60, 43, 69. No? So yung 68, letter dog. Okay. And with 69, which of the following is present when bulimic client does purging? 69, letter A. And you know the explanation already regarding the concept of care and how they are guilty that they should not receive that care. So ang gagawin nila, they vomit, they purge. Okay, 70. Psychopediation is assessing a client suffering from stress and anxiety, a common physiological response, diarrhea, letter D, 70. 71, cognitive examination of anxiety. So, this is very simple question 71. This is letter boy. Diba? So, misinterpretation of certain bodily symptoms. The other choices will lead you to answer letter boy as well. No? 72. The psychometrician observes EJ for his paper. Which of the following will this likely be observed? 72. Boy, associative play. You know that clients with autism or clients with intellectual disability may not show associative play. While in 73, EJ's cousin also has mental retardation. EJ's cousin also reached only 3rd grade. Self-care, household chores. 73, it's letter boy, moderate retardation. Remember the qualitative descriptions when it comes to mild, moderate, severe, and profound. When I say qualitative description, ano-ano yung mga behaviors na pwedeng gawin. Kasi kung quantitative description, we're talking about anong IQ score na mild, moderate, severe, and profound. And you know this already. With the quantitative, we're talking about ano-ano yung mga skills or behaviors na pwede nilang gawin. Hanggang saang level ng adaptive functioning ang kaya nilang gawin. Alin-alin. So sa mild retardation, you know, they can reach up to 6th grade, some even technical courses, technical vocational courses. They can do their own self-care with minimal supervision. That's a mild retardation. Moderate retardation, which is the answer in 73, approach only to third grade. And of course, they can still do some of the self-care basta merong supervision. In this case, sabi special supervision, at least kaya. But the keyword here is the third grade. 6th grade math, 3rd grade moderate. Some books will still argue 1st grade as severe. So kung makita nyo ang up to the 1st grade, grade 1, severe yun. Yung grading dito is mainstream, ha? So you can still mainstream a client with severe mental retardation hanggang grade 1. Pero past grade 1, hindi na kaya. Talagang special ed na. Diba? So, sabi ko nga kanina, there might be some clients na parang okay naman siya on the earlier years. Pero pagdating niya ng grade 3, grade 4, parang hirap na makasunod, hirap na maipag-interact, lumalabas na yung mga concern. So, hindi na siya i-mainstream, lalagay na siya sa special ed. So, ganun yung sinasabi dito about 6th, 3rd, tsaka 1st grade. Okay? Yung profound, wala na talaga. It's custodial care. Okay? Okay, 74. Which of the following cases can be defined as having intellectual disability? So, based no sa mga statements ng choices, it should be letter C. So, number 75. Soldier who experiences sudden blindness after seeing his body killed during the fight is 75, letter E. No, that's the nearest answer. No, somatic disorder. Okay. How about in 76? Ayun. 76. What type or the researchers studying with adults with ADHD have found that many experience what? Letter A, other psychological disorder. Ito yung tinatawag natin about comorbidity, right? So that's with 76. How about in 77? Although those with paranoid PD, or PD, no, often are deeply suspicious, their suspicion are letter B, do not become delusional. So, hindi siya fixed, no? With paranoid PD. Basta may paliwanag mo at may pakita mo talagang super bigat na evidence na hindi siya totoo, maniniwala siya. Pero later on, they can still create their own stories. Mapaghinala, no? How about in 77? Although those 77 is B. 78, what type of panic attack is an essential element of panic disorder? 78, more of letter dog, unexpected. While in 79, panic disorder in women associated with early childhood experience. 79A, parental illness and substance use. Na-explain ko na to dati when it comes to the way vulnerability can happen even you're still in utero or nasa pinagbubuntis ka pa lang, no? Regarding the threshold of anxiety response, that it's also vulnerable to external environment even when you're still being conceived. That's a possibility. Kaya letter A ang sagot sa 79. How about in 80? Johnny is chronic alcoholic with dementia, difficulties remembering past events, forming new memories. 80 is letter dog, Korsakoff syndrome. We explained already when it comes to the Wernicke's disease and Korsakoff syndrome. And another terminology is about delirium tremens. Nabanggit ko ba yun sa inyo? Na itong Wernicke's disease or even the Korsakoff syndrome or sa ibang books magkasama yan dahil they co-occur at the same time, the Wernicke's, Korsakoff syndrome. That syndrome then coupled with some withdrawal symptoms also can lead you to delirium tremens, wherein of course delirium happens and it's actually life-threatening. No? The client can be comatose. So that's really, that's already actually a medical condition when it comes to clients taking alcohol for a long time. 81. Which treatment program is heavily grounded in spirituality? Of course, this is easy already. 81 letter A, Alcoholic Anonymous. Yung mga AA groups natin, 81A. Pero you know the other treatments. Yung Q exposure method when it comes to some of the triggers for you to take the alcohol. So desensitize kayo on whether you take alcohol or not. Relapse prevention also. The relapse prevention therapy is a couple of therapies, combined therapies, like meron sila medication na dinetake, at the same time may psychotherapy na ginagawa, etc. Para hindi na sila bumalik or mag-relapse. Detoxification, you know the term detoxification? Diba? During the peak effects of this substance, whether it's drugs or alcohol, so to decrease the withdrawal symptoms, you need to remove all the substances in the body and you need to detoxify para mabawasan yung withdrawal symptoms. 82, Dr. Martel, cognitive behavioral therapist, likely to use which approach? Should answer letter Do. You know this already. Aversive conditioning, you know this? No? Instead of rewards, ito punishment naman ang ginagamit sa aversive conditioning. So ang idea, ma-decrease yung behavior. Okay? So that's 82 letter Do. Least likely So very behaviorist yung letter Do. Yung A, B, and C, they are cognitive behavioral in approach. Okay? 83, researchers have proposed that seasonal type of depression may be caused because of light. 83 letter Do. Hindi siya masyadong common sa Philippines, pero probably you experience also na kapag katulad nito, makulimlim, parang ang lungkot-lungkot, no? Yung mga emo move. 84, dyspareunia is a condition that involves letter Do, painful sexual intercourse. So this may accompany clients who have problems with sexual functioning. Okay? Either aversive, sexual aversion. 85? Tama, 85. In explaining hypothesized causes of ADHD, experts currently believe that letter Do, biologically based, triggered with, so in-explain lang niya in a psychosocial, biopsychosocial manner. 86. Proponents of which theoretical model propose the people with bulimia to society's attitudes towards thinness, extreme restraints, and religious rules. So you know 86, it's letter Do. While in 87, Dr. Simons is being pressured by the local police to give information. So, alam nyong you are protected by 87B, privileged communication. You know this already. Your law actually protects you from this police or some people who try to extort information from you. You can tell them that you are bound by this principle of privileged communication. You cannot disclose this information. You are prevented by the law, and there's a need for a court order for you to disclose information. 88, the legal principle that the state has the authority to protect those people. 88 letter Do, parents patriae. 89, compared to other forms of schizophrenia, people with NAT subtype show better cognitive. So, among those subtype in the DSM-40 or schizophrenia, alin yung mas okay yung prognosis is actually the paranoid. 89 letter A, paranoid schizophrenia. Bakit? Pag nakita nyo sila sa ward, sila yung mas parang kala mo wala namang problema. They're well-dressed, they're okay, pero pag kinausap mo na, doon na, sasabog na yung delusions. Saka may mga hallucinations, halo-halo na. Okay? Unlike with catatonic and even undifferentiated or sa disorgan, kita-kita mo malayo pa lang eh. With their appearance, with the way they move, with the way they talk with the way they talk with the air. I mean, they're just talking. 90. When the patient no longer has a disorder, ang appropriate term is C, recovered. Pero sabi ko nga sa inyo, di ba? With most of the psychological disorders, they're not recovered but more on the remission. Either full, partial remission. Tapos kapag bumalik sila o nagkaroon ng signs and symptoms ulit, relapse yun. Diba? So, those are some of the terminologies. 91. Which of the following conduct disorder most likely to grow out? O ibig sabihin, kinalakihan na lang nila during teenage years. And ibig sabihin ng grow out or kinalakihan, kumbaga nag-mellow down yung signs and symptoms. Ibig sabihin, better yung prognosis. Kumbaga parang nawala o nag-even out or nag-mellow down. So sa 91, dapat nasagot nyo ay letter C. Kasi ang onset niya late. Nakita nyo? So, kumbaga, you can expect na sa tatlong to, malamang sa malamang, mas okay ang prognosis kay Alvin, itong letter C. Kasi late ang onset niya. This is a very painful way of conceptualizing about the prognosis. Just need to apply the knowledge that you have to answer these kinds of questions. 92. Of the following which best explain bipolar disorder may be mistaken for schizophrenia. Na-explain na natin to during the ratio. In the first place, bakit pinag-ahambing yung dalawa? Kasi marami silang overlap of symptoms. Okay? Kaya ang sagot sa 92 should be letter A. Diba? Pwedeng mag-occur parehas. Mali yung letter B. Marked by episodes of depression. Hindi eh. Sa schizophrenia, although there can be comorbid, pero hindi siya criteria. It's only with the bipolar. At least with some of the episodes of bipolar with major depression. Ganun din yung C, di ba? So, 92 letter A. 93, each of the following disorder involves unexplainable medical symptom except 93 letter A, hypochondriasis. Sa hypochondriasis kasi, meron naman talagang medical event or may medical concern. Pero ang nangyayari, ine-exaggerate. Masakit ang ulo, okay, sige, that's medical concern. Pero para sa kanya, baka may tumor na, o kasi kanina nakuntog siya doon sa LRT, baka mamaya may tumubo na sa loob ng utak niya, kaya ganun. Ganun na agad, no? It's really exaggerated. But the rest, wala eh. Walang unremarkable, no? Yung DCMG, walang remarkable result in a medical test. 94. Depressed client being treated with cognitive therapy in 2-week session. So the situation is about 94, it's letter A, no? Minimization. Yung pang, ano na siya, pumasa na siya, highest grade pa nga siya. Pero sabi niya, hindi ganun ka-importante. So minimization. Okay. So remember those cognitive distortions, you may want to review cognitive distortion. So kumbaga, kung sa psychodynamic may defense mechanism nga aralin, sa cognitive naman may cognitive distortion, tsaka corollaries. Diba? Sa 95, Mr. A has disorganized schizophrenia, Mr. B, major depression, schizoaffective disorder naman yung isa, better prognosis, the best answer, 95, letter C, yung major depression with psychotic features. Because you know that schizoaffective and clients with schizophrenia have worse prognosis, especially clients with disorganized schizophrenia. Tapos yung schizoaffective, may psychotic episode na nga, meron pa siyang mood concerns. So you know that if they have more they have poor prognosis compared to P, which is major depression. How about in 96? James' job involves taking an elevator to 25th. Therapists vividly describe people trapped in elevators, etc. 96 is A, flooding. Okay. While in 97, which neurotransmitter is activated when individual takes it under stress? So this is norepinephrine, B, 97. Yung flight or fight response natin is norepinephrine. 98, express emotion refers to, ito alam niyo na. Pero noon mahirap sa inyo to. Letter A, over-involvement. Pero hypercritical, hostile remarks. Saka yung superficial caring. No? Parang kala mo they care for you, pero actually gusto lang nila to control. No? O, 99. Psychometricians suspect that her client may be maligary, may not actually have a true amnestic disorder. Na-explain ko na to dati, di ba? Ang technique dito, kailangan malaman mo, makapagbigay ka ng test na hindi madaling pekein. Kasi kung nagmamalinger yan, ang gagawin niya, lahat ng test na ibibigay sa'yo, kung walingin niya, may problema siya. So sa 99, ang sagot letter A. Kasi tanong, she might consider each of the following except. So sa mini mental status exam, madaling pekein yan eh. Masasabi lang siya ng yung mga test na papagawa mo, hindi lang niya susundin. Yung trade making test, hindi lang niya susundin. Yung overlapping pentagons, kunwari hindi niya susundin. So parang lumabas, may dementia, pero actually hindi eh. Di katulad yung letter B, systematic memory assessment niya, mahirap pekein yan. Even yung with the way you do letter C about medical condition, you will rule out, and also with letter D, which is actually you're looking whether there's motive behind. So you know, you will answer letter A. Last number, regarding personality disorder, its resistance to change may be explained by the following except letter A. Strong genetic component. Okay. So, if you still have your answer sheets with you, you please submit kahit yung sa IO Mach 5 sa psych assessment 5. You submit so that we can check para magawa ko na yung report. And then, sabi ko nga, I'm not sure if all of you are here yesterday, pero sabi ko nga, we have the collaborative mock exams sa mock exam 6. So just to briefly reiterate it again, so sabi ko nga, the mock 1, 2, 3, and 4, the questions came from us, you did your exam, we see the gaps, we see the difficult questions, and then the methodology is to administer it again in mock 5, so that kung yung mock 1 to 4 is measuring knowledge gaps, the mock 5 is actually measuring mastery of skills or mastery of the topics. Tapos ang strategy naman sa mock 6 is to increase the knowledge base. Since we already exploited everything that we can do, probably you yourselves have reviewed or encountered questions or materials on your own study, or probably you're creating practice questions by yourselves or with your group. So you may want to share that with the rest of the class by signing up that Google Forms that we emailed to you, so that we will discuss those questions. So i-rationalize natin. So kung may na-encounter kayo mga mahihirap na questions sa ibang textbook na hindi pa natin na-exam, o kayo sa mga classmate nyo, nagagawa kayo ng mga practice question, you may want to share that. Tapos, kung alam niyo yung sagot, then much better so that we can review whether it's correct. Pero kung hindi niyo alam, okay lang din. I-research natin. No? So that is what you call the collaborative mock exam. So, we emailed the Google Forms already about that. So please check your emails. I will I will also post briefly siguro sa Facebook for some period of time para dun sa iba na hindi maka-access. Kasi baka mamaya mas spam eh, kaya hindi ko pinupost sa Facebook. Baka mamaya may magbiro sa Facebook eh. Nakalagay, sino mas gwapo sa apat na ito? Yung lagay ng mga question.